Square D sidearm disconnects have been subject to recalls over the years. The most recent recall occurred in 2022. This recall specifically targets certain models manufactured between 2015 and 2022. The primary reason for the 2022 recall is a potential fire hazard. This hazard stems from a faulty contact arm within the disconnect. Because of this, it is important to inspect affected units and replace them as needed. The purpose of a disconnect is to provide a means of safely isolating electrical equipment from its power source. This isolation is crucial for maintenance, repairs, or in emergency situations. Disconnects are commonly used in industrial, commercial, and residential settings. The sidearm disconnect design refers to the operating mechanism of the disconnect switch. Instead of a traditional front-mounted handle, a side-mounted lever or mechanism actuates the switch. This side-mounted design can offer space-saving advantages in certain panel configurations. However, it can also introduce unique mechanical complexities. When a disconnect switch fails, it can manifest in several ways. Firstly, it may not properly interrupt the electrical current when switched to the off position. Secondly, it could fail to maintain a closed circuit when in the on position. Thirdly, overheating, arcing, or physical damage to the switch components may occur. A faulty contact arm, as cited in the Square D recall, falls under the category of a failure to maintain a reliable electrical connection. The contact arm is responsible for making and breaking the electrical circuit within the disconnect. If the contact arm is poorly manufactured, improperly aligned, or made of substandard materials, it can lead to increased resistance, heat generation, and ultimately a fire. When a recall is issued for an electrical component like a disconnect, it's crucial to take it seriously. Firstly, identify if the disconnects in your facility or home are among the affected models. This typically involves checking the model number and date codes against the information provided in the recall notice. Secondly, if you find that you have affected units, immediately take steps to mitigate the risk. This may involve disconnecting the power to the circuit controlled by the disconnect. Thirdly, contact the manufacturer, in this case Square D, or a qualified electrician to arrange for inspection and replacement of the faulty disconnect. There are several factors that can contribute to the failure of a contact arm. Firstly, material fatigue is a key factor. Over time, the repeated opening and closing of the disconnect switch can cause the metal in the contact arm to weaken and become brittle. Secondly, excessive current flow through the disconnect can generate heat. This heat can accelerate the degradation of the contact arm material. Thirdly, environmental factors such as humidity and corrosion can also play a role in weakening the contact arm. Proper installation and maintenance are essential for ensuring the long-term reliability of disconnect. Firstly, the disconnect must be installed according to the manufacturer's instructions and all applicable electrical codes. Secondly, connections must be tightened to the correct torque specifications to prevent overheating and arcing. Thirdly, regular inspection should be performed to check for signs of damage, corrosion, or overheating. It's also important to consider the ampacity rating of the disconnect. The ampacity rating is the maximum amount of current a disconnect can safely handle. Exceeding the ampacity rating can cause the disconnect to overheat and fail. This is outlined in NEC Table 310.15. When selecting a disconnect, it's important to choose one that is appropriately sized for the circuit it will be protecting. For example, if the circuit breaker is rated for 20 amps, the disconnect should have an ampacity rating of at least 20 amps. In some cases, it may be necessary to use a disconnect with a higher ampacity rating to account for future load growth. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides guidelines for the safe installation and use of electrical equipment. Firstly, Article 430 covers motor circuits, including disconnect requirements. Secondly, Article 440 addresses air conditioning and refrigeration equipment, which often require dedicated disconnect. Thirdly, Article 600 covers electric signs and outline lighting, specifying disconnect requirements for these applications. These articles outline the requirements for disconnects in various applications. Understanding these requirements is crucial for ensuring electrical safety. When replacing a recalled disconnect, it's important to choose a suitable replacement. Firstly, the replacement disconnect should have the same ampacity rating and voltage rating as the original disconnect. Secondly, it should be UL listed or have another recognized certification to ensure that it meets safety standards. Thirdly, the replacement disconnect should be compatible with the existing electrical panel and wiring. The voltage rating of the disconnect must match the voltage of the circuit it will be protecting. For example, in a 120/240 volt single-phase system, the disconnect should have a voltage rating of at least 240 volts. In a 208 volt three-phase system, the disconnect should have a voltage rating of at least 208 volts. And in a 480 volt three-phase system, the disconnect should have a voltage rating of at least 480 volts. Using a disconnect with an inadequate voltage rating can result in equipment failure and potential safety hazards. When installing a new disconnect, it's crucial to follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully. Firstly, turn off the power to the circuit before beginning any work. Secondly, ensure that the disconnect is properly grounded. Thirdly, make sure that all connections are tight and secure. Improper installation can lead to electrical hazards and equipment failure. Grounding is an essential safety measure that helps to protect against electrical shock. The disconnect should be grounded to the electrical panel's grounding bus by using a grounding conductor of the appropriate size. The size of the grounding conductor is determined by the size of the circuit conductors. Refer to NEC Table 250.122 for the appropriate grounding conductor size. Regular inspections of disconnects are important for identifying potential problems before they lead to failures. Firstly, check for signs of overheating, such as discoloration or melting of the plastic components. Secondly, check for loose connections or corrosion. Thirdly, test the operation of the disconnect to ensure that it properly interrupts the circuit. Any problems that are identified should be addressed promptly by a qualified electrician. In addition to visual inspections, it's also a good idea to perform a thermal scan of the disconnect using an infrared camera. Thermal scanning can help to identify hotspots that may indicate loose connections or other problems. If a hotspot is detected, the disconnect should be investigated and repaired as necessary. It's also important to keep the area around the disconnect clean and free of obstructions. Dust and debris can accumulate in the disconnect and cause it to overheat. Obstructions can prevent proper ventilation and also contribute to overheating. When working with electrical equipment, it's essential to wear appropriate personal protective equipment, or PPE. Firstly, wear safety glasses to protect your eyes from arc flash and other hazards. Secondly, wear insulated gloves to protect your hands from electrical shock. Thirdly, wear appropriate clothing to protect your body from burns and other injuries. Always to energize the circuit before working on a disconnect. Use a voltage tester to verify that the circuit is de-energized before beginning any work. This will help to prevent accidental electrical shock. If you are not comfortable working with electrical equipment, it's best to hire a qualified electrician. The electricians have the training and experience necessary to safely install and repair electrical equipment. Working with electricity can be dangerous, and it's important to take all necessary precautions. It is important to consult the Square D website or contact their customer service for the most up-to-date information on recalls and affected models. This information is subject to change, and relying on older sources may lead to inaccurate conclusions. Remember that electrical safety is paramount. When in doubt, consult a qualified electrician for assistance. Ignoring potential electrical hazards can have serious consequences. The information provided here is for general guidance only and should not be considered a substitute for professional advice. Laws and codes vary from location to location. Always consult with a qualified professional to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations. Proper maintenance and timely replacement of faulty components are crucial for maintaining a safe and reliable electrical system. Take the necessary steps to protect yourself and your property from electrical hazards. The Square D sidearm disconnect recall is a reminder of the importance of electrical safety and the need to be vigilant in identifying and addressing potential hazards. By taking proactive steps, you can help to prevent electrical fires and other accidents.